Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week, and if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. In today's tutorial, we're starting a cozy cable lounge set, and first up, some cute cable stitch shorts. Perfect for in the house or when you're on the go. Speaking of, by now y'all already know the drill, but just in case you're new, the best modern crochet tutorials and patterns are made here, with even more dropping twice weekly, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now, it's time to get on the show, so without further ado. For this project, any category for yarn will work, but I used a total of 220 grams of yarn. That's 500 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 6mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order, and enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us if you prefer chocolatey or fruity desserts. For me, always fruity. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 5 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, and treble crochet. This tutorial is made for size small. You can adjust it for your size and explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting these shorts started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Then we're all going to grab our 6mm hook, and we're all going to start by making a chain the height that we'd like for our waistband to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 10. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to block off that last chain and do a chain 1. Now into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to bring our hook down, into that chain, then yarn over and gently pull through both loops on our hook. There's the first, there's the second. Again, we're going to insert into that following chain, yarn over, and gently pull through everything on our hook. We want to make sure that we're not tugging too tightly, otherwise the following row will be too tight to work into. Continue with 1 slip stitch into every chain. Now that we've made our way down with our row 1, we're all going to get started on our row 2, so that's going to start with a chain 1 and flip. Finding that first stitch, we're going to insert into that back loop, because now we're going to do back loop slip stitches. So into that loop that's furthest away from us, we're going to insert, yarn over, and pull through everything on our hook. Again, next stitch into that back loop, yarn over, and pull through everything, and that's it. From here, continue with 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, still remembering not to tug too tightly after every stitch. Now that we're at the end of our row 2, we're going to repeat our row 2 till we get the waistband width that we need. So simply chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch, and that's it. We're going to continue with our back loop slip stitch rows with no increases and no decreases until we have a waistband that can stretch, because remember it does have a decent amount of stretch to it, around the widest part of our hips, making sure that our rows are in multiples of 8. Once we have that completed, I'll meet everyone back so we can seam it all together. So we are back. I have just completed the total width of my waistband. Now I made a total of 120 rows. That's just about 19 inches or 48 centimeters unstretched. Now we're going to seam it together. So first things first, we're going to take our waistband, fold it in half, making sure that it's not twisted. Then we're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Now from here, we're going to pull our working yarn through and do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now we're going to do an outside loop slip stitch seam. So finding that first stitch into the front panel, we're going to insert only in through that front loop. First stitch into the back panel, insert only in through that back loop. Then yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. Let's do that again. Into the next stitch into the front panel, insert into that front loop. Next stitch into the back, insert into that back. Yarn over and pull through everything on our hook. And we're just going to continue doing this so we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Now that we have just completed our seam, we can get started on the length of our shorts. So we're all going to start with a half double crochet row. So right after our seam, what we're going to do is chain 2. Now that chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch, we just need the height, and we're going to be putting 1 half double crochet into every side row. So making sure that that seam is faced along the outside, because that is going to be the outside of our work, we're going to yarn over, finding our first side row. This is mine right here. I'm going to find that top loop and insert with 1 half double crochet. Again, yarn over. This is my next side row, which is this divot. Find that top loop and insert with 1 half double crochet again. And that's it. From here, continue with 1 half double crochet into every side row. We should all have the same amount of half double crochets as rows that we made for the waistband. And as a really quick tip, once we made our way all the way around, this half double crochet row is going to be as wide as this portion can stretch. So once when it's completed, try your piece on. If it's a little too tight, reduce some stitches with a looser grip, or if it's too loose, reduce some stitches with a tighter grip. Now we are back. We've just made our way all the way around with our half double crochet row. Now to close off the row, we're going to slip stitch into that second chain that we made when we started off the row. So there's 1, there's 2. Into that second chain, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. Now that slip stitch doesn't count as a stitch. That's just to connect the beginning to the end of the row. Now our following row is going to be a single crochet row. So we're going to chain 1 and flip our work. Now all we're going to do is put 1 single crochet into every stitch. So just to do the first one, finding that first stitch, insert, pull through 2. Continue with 1 single crochet into every stitch. Then I'll meet you back at the end of the row. We have just made our way all the way around with our single crochet row. Now we're going to close off the row by slip stitching into that first chain that we made when we started off the row. And remember that that slip stitch doesn't actually count as a stitch. That's just to connect the beginning to the end of the row. Now we can all get started on row 3, which is our first twist / Alpine Stitch row. So we're going to chain 2 and flip. Now this design is going to start the same for everyone. So it's going to start with our twist, and our twist is going to be framed by our dividing stitch, which is always going to be a front post treble crochet. So we're all going to start by yarning over twice. We're going to find the first half double crochet from our row 1, so that half double crochet row. We're going to make sure that we are not counting that chain 2, and we're going to find that first half double crochet. We're going to bring our hook down underneath the body and through the other side, pull through. From here, we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now that is our dividing stitch. Now to do the actual twist portion, we're going to yarn over twice again, preparing for a front post treble. We're going to skip the following stitch from our row 1 and put 1 front post treble into each of the following 2 half doubles. So bring your hook down, skip that following like I said, underneath the next with 1 front post treble, so pull through, then yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then another front post treble into that following stitch, so yarn over twice. Bring your hook down underneath the body and through the other side, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now to do the actual twist portion, we're going to be putting 1 front post treble back into that skip stitch. So yarn over twice, into that stitch that we just skipped over, bring your hook down underneath the body, through the other side, pull through. Then yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 1 loop left on our hook. Now that is the twist portion. Like I said, it needs to be framed off with our front post treble, which is our dividing stitch, so yarn over twice. Into that next stitch, bring your hook down underneath, pull through, then yarn over and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left on our hook. And that is our dividing stitch, twist, and dividing stitch. Now we're going to do our Alpine Stitch detail. Now we're going to have 3 stitches for everyone, no matter what size we're making. So we're all going to start with a front post double crochet. So starting with the yarn over, we're going to find that following stitch from our row 1. We're going to bring our hook down underneath the body of that stitch, pull through. Now when we have these 3 loops on our hook, we do want to make sure that we're pulling up tall so we get the same height as the twist. Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're all going to do a half double crochet. Now we are going to need to skip a total of 6 stitches because we just took up a total of 6 stitches here. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So counting from our previous single crochet row, let's all count out 6. Here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and into the next with 1 half double crochet. That is our first 2 stitches for our Alpine Stitch detail, and the following stitch is going to be a front post double. So yarn over. We're going to skip that following half double crochet from our row 1 because that half double counts as that stitch, and into the next with 1 front post double. So yarn over, pull through, pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. And from here, it is going to be this stitch sequence making our way all the way around. So let's get that started again. We're going to start with our twist. So yarn over twice because that is our dividing stitch. Into that following stitch from our row 1, we're going to bring our hook down, underneath, through the other side, and pull through. From here, yarn over and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then to do our twist, yarn over twice. Skipping that following stitch from our row 1 and into the next 2 stitches from our row 1, 1 front post treble into each of those. So like I said, skip 1, into the next with 1 front post treble, then into the following with another front post treble. Then working back into that skip stitch, yet another front post treble. So pull through and continue to pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left. Then our dividing stitch, which is always a front post treble. So yarn over twice, underneath the next with a front post treble. Now to do our Alpine Stitch detail. We're all going to start with a front post double crochet. So yarn over once. Underneath that following available stitch, bring your hook down, underneath and through the other side, pull through. When we have these 3 loops, pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Now to do the half double crochet, for this half double crochet and the rest for the row, we're now going to be skipping a total of 7 stitches. Now we're skipping a total of 7 because we do need to include that front post double crochet from our previous Alpine Stitch detail as well. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches that we just did. So counting from our previous row, we're all going to count starting from that first available stitch. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Into that next, insert with 1 half double crochet, then a front post double. So yarn over, skip that following stitch from our row 1 because that half double counts as that stitch. Then underneath the body that next with our front post double, and that is it. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our twist and our Alpine Stitch detail, making our way all the way around. We should all end right after the completion of our 3 stitches for our Alpine Stitch detail, then I'll meet you back. So we are back. We have just made our way all the way around with our row 3. Now every even number row for this section is going to be a single crochet row. So right after we've slip stitched into that chain space, we're all going to chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 single crochet into every stitch, then I'll meet you back. So our single crochet row is complete. Now let's get started on our row 5. So right after we've slip stitched into that chain space, we're all going to chain 2 and flip. Now when it comes to doing our post stitches, each of our post stitches will be worked into our previous cable stitch row just to make everything look like it's connected. So since we're about to work on a row 5, we're going to insert our hook underneath the post stitches from our row 3. So the twists are always going to be the same. It's going to start with our dividing stitch, which is a front post treble crochet. So yarn over twice. Bring your hook down underneath that first post stitch from our previous cable stitch row and just insert with our front post treble. Then to do our twist, that is also going to be the same. So yarn over twice. We're going to skip that following stitch underneath the body of that next with a front post treble. Then underneath that following stitch with another front post treble as well. Then to do the actual twist portion, we're going to do a front post treble worked back into that skip stitch. So bring your hook back, underneath, pull through, then yarn over and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left on our hook. Then, like I said, we always need to frame off our twist with a dividing stitch, which is always a front post treble. Now the twist portion is completed. Now we're going to do our Alpine Stitch detail. Now the Alpine Stitch detail is still going to be 3 stitches, but the stitches need to be staggered from our previous Alpine Stitch row. So since the first stitch from our previous row was a front post double, we're now going to do a half double crochet into the top of that stitch. So we are going to start by skipping 5 stitches from our previous row because we just took up a total of 5 stitches here for our twist. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting out from our previous row, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into that following stitch, we're going to insert with a half double crochet. Then we need to do our front post double, and the front post doubles will always be worked into our previous Alpine Stitch details, half double crochet. If we work a front post double into a double, that would actually just end up looking like some ribbing, which is nice, but not what we want for this piece. So making sure we're working underneath the half double, we're going to bring our hook down, underneath through the other side, pull through. Pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then we're going to half double again since we all should have 3 stitches for our Alpine stitch detail. So yarn over. We are going to skip 1 stitch from our previous row because this front post double counts as that stitch. So into the next with a half double crochet. And that's that. We're going to continue doing this, making our way all the way around. So let's do the next section together. The next section is going to start with a treble crochet. That is our dividing stitch, so yarn over twice. Bring our hook down underneath the front post treble from our previous row. Insert with 1 front post treble. Then we're going to do our twists. So yarn over twice. Skip 1 stitch from our previous row. Front post treble into the following. So just yarn over and pull through 2 till we have 1 loop left. Then underneath that following stitch with yet another front post treble crochet. Then to do our twist, we're going to bring our hook back into that skip stitch with a front post treble. Then our dividing stitch, which is always a front post treble just to close off that twist detail. Now we're going to do our Alpine stitch detail. So we're going to start with a half double crochet because the first stitch from our previous Alpine stitch detail was a front post. We're going to skip a total of 5 stitches again because we just took up a total of 5 stitches here for our dividing stitch, twist, and dividing stitch. So counting from our previous row, starting with our first available stitch, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Into that next with a half double. Then after that half double, we're going to do a front post double worked into the half double from our previous Alpine stitch detail. So pull through, pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then to close off our Alpine stitch detail, because it's 3 stitches for everyone, a half double. So yarn over. Skip 1 stitch from our previous row because that front post double counts as that stitch, and into the next with a half double, and that's it. From here, we're just going to continue to repeat this, making our way all the way around. Then I'll meet you back at the end of the row. We are back. We've made our way all the way around with our row 5. Now our even number row, our row 6, is going to be a single crochet row. So right after we've slip stitched into that second chain, we're going to chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 single crochet into every stitch. So we are back, and the first 6 rows of our cable stitch detail is complete. Now what we're going to do from here is repeat rows 3 through 6 until we get the height of the shorts that we need. Now if you guys need timestamps for any of these rows, they will be linked in the description. But like I said, continue to repeat rows 3 through 6, no increases, no decreases, until we get the length of the shorts that we need right when we're about to get started on our separate leg holes. Now you want to make sure that we're placing the waistband where it would sit when this piece is completed. Now you can make this high or low rise, that's completely up to you. Mine is going to be low rise. And we'll all meet back right after we complete a repeat of row 3 with a chain up of 1 and cut right after that last row. We are back. I have just completed the total length of my shorts. Now I have a total of 19 rows. This height is just about 5 inches or 13 centimeters. Or my total height, including my waistband, is just about 7 inches or 18 centimeters. Now we're all going to get started on our individual pant legs. Now right after that cut, we're going to split our pant legs in half. So since we didn't do any increases or decreases for any of these rows, we should all still have the same amount of stitches as waistband rows that we made. So it should be an even number for everyone, so we're just going to start by inserting our stitch marker into the first available stitch that's nearest to our tail end. Count out half the amount of stitches that we have, insert your stitch marker, and repeat on the other side. So for those of you that have my numbers, I did a total of 120 waistband rows. So 120 cut in half is 60. So I inserted my stitch marker into that first and into that 60th stitch and repeated on the other side as well. Should have the same amount of stitches on both sides. Now from here, we're going to get started on the following row, working on our left pant leg first. Now the following row is going to be a single crochet row, but we do need to make a chain that connects the front of our pants to the back. So go ahead and try our piece on, making sure that the waistband is sitting where it would sit once the whole thing is completed. So making sure that our work is flipped right side up and out. Our waistband seam is faced up and nearest to us. Go ahead and insert your stitch marker into the left stitch marker stitch that's nearest to the tail end. Then we can make the connecting chain. Now for each of our pant legs, the amount of chains that we're about to make needs to be able to add up with the side of the pant leg that we're working on in multiples of 8. So what I mean is, since I split my pant legs in half, I have a total of 60 stitches on this side, 60 stitches on this side. The amount of chains that I'm about to add to my 60 needs to be in multiples of 8. So I went ahead and already measured my chain out. I needed roughly 3 inches or 8 centimeters, so the chain that I made is a total of 12. 12 plus 60 is 72, which is divisible by 8. Just make sure that the amount of stitches that you have for the entirety of your pant leg is in multiples of 8. So like I said, I made a chain 12. Now from here, we're going to single crochet it into our stitch marker stitch. Just make sure that it's a stitch marker stitch on the same side, so mine is the left. I'm going to insert my hook in through there, and I'm going to single crochet it into there. That's going to count as our connector and as a stitch as well. So insert with a single crochet. Now from here, I'm going to continue on with my single crochet row, make my way all the way around, and I'll meet you back once we're worked into that last available stitch right before our chain. So we made our way around with our single crochets. We're worked into our last available stitch right before our stitch marker. Now what we're going to do is just single crochet, making sure that we are working into that stitch marker stitch, just so that we don't miss out on that stitch. So insert with a single crochet, then working into the chain, 1 half double crochet into every chain. So as you guys can see, I've just half double crocheted all the way down. We don't technically have our chain space, so all we're going to do is chain 2 and flip. It's going to feel really weird, and I'm not going to like it either, but we're going to flip our work, and we're going to get started on the following row. And getting started on our first pant leg row, we're all going to start with our Alpine Stitch detail, and we do want to make sure that we're working into our chain first. So starting with 1 half double crochet for everyone, we're all going to yarn over. Into that first stitch, insert with a half double. Then a front post double, so finding that second stitch from our half double crochet row, we're going to insert our hook underneath, through the other side, pull through, pull up tall, pull through 2, pull through 2, then a half double crochet. So basically these same stitches that we were doing for the body. Skipping 1 stitch from our previous row, because this front post double crochet counts as that stitch, we're going to insert with a half double crochet. Then we're going to do our twist. It's going to be done the same way again, so just yarn over twice. Finding that next available stitch from our half double crochet row, we're going to insert with our dividing stitch, which is a front post double. Then our twists per usual, so yarn over twice. Skip a stitch into the stitch right after that. Insert with a front post treble into that next with another front post treble. Then worked back into that skip stitch with 1 front post treble. Then our dividing stitch, so yarn over twice. Into that next stitch, pull through 2, 2, 2. And that is what we're going to continue to do down our chain. And we should all end right after our Alpine Stitch detail, then we can work straight into the body portion from there. So we have just continued working our way down. We all should have ended right after our Alpine Stitch detail, and our last stitch should have been a half double crochet. Now from here, we're going to continue on with the same stitches that we've been doing, now just working into the body. So starting with a yarn over of 2, because the next stitch is going to be our dividing stitch. Then following that following stitch down, we're going to find that dividing stitch from our previous row and continue on from there. This portion is going to be per usual, so go ahead and make your way all the way around. And I will meet everyone back right after we have our last stitch to do, which should be our dividing stitch. So I've just made my way all the way around, and we have our last stitch to do, which is our dividing stitch. What we're going to do is a front post double crochet per usual, but this one's going to be combined with a half double crochet so that we don't have a big gap here once we have our shorts on. So what we're going to do is yarn over twice per usual. Into that dividing stitch, we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops on our hook. Then from here, yarn over into the last stitch from our previous row. We're going to insert, pull through for 4 loops on our hook, then yarn over, pull through all 4. Then we're going to slip stitch into that second chain that we made to connect the beginning to the end of this row. Then from here, everything else is going to be per usual. We're going to chain 1, flip our work, single crochet all the way around. Then do our following rows. Then we're just going to continue to do our following alpine and twist rows until we get the length of the shorts that we want. Once we have that, we are still going to have a bottom band, so I will meet everyone back right after a cable stitch row. Then we can do that together. We are back. I have just completed the length of my shorts. Now just counting the amount of rows that we have for the shorts length, I have a total of 10 rows. this height is just about 3 inches or 8 centimeters, or the total height that I have, including my waistband, is just about 10 inches or 25 centimeters. Now we're going to get started on our bottom band, which is pretty simple. Right after we've slip stitched into that chain space, we're all going to chain 2, flip, and simply put 1/2 double crochet into every stitch so far. Then I'll meet you back at the end of the row. Now that our half double crochet row is completed and we have slip stitched into that second chain, we're now going to get started on our ribbing, which is simply front and back post double crochets. So right after we slip stitch, we're going to chain 2 and flip. Simply finding that first half double crochet from our previous half double crochet row, we're going to insert with a front post double. Then to do a back post, we're going to yarn over, underneath the body that next, through the other side, pull through 2, pull through 2. Super simple. Let's do this together just once more. Yarn over, insert your hook underneath the body of that next, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then yarn over, bring our hook underneath our work, over the body of that next half double, pull through 2, pull through 2. Continue doing this, making our way all the way around, then slip stitch into that second chain that we made. So we are back. We have just completed our ribbing row for our bottom band. Now we have slip stitched into that second chain and do a chain up a 1 and cut. Now from here, we're going to repeat everything we did here on the other side. So just to make sure that we're all working on the same portion, we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out still, making sure that the pant leg that we just completed is along the right side. Then we're going to do our single/half double crochet row. Now since we made a chain for our previous pant leg, we don't need to make another chain here. What we're going to do is insert our hook into the stitch marker that's furthest away from us. Now we're doing it this way so that we can work in the opposite direction from our previous row. So we'll be working into the pant leg portion first. So simply put 1 single crochet into every stitch, including into our stitch marker stitch on this side. Then once we reach on top of the chain, still putting 1/2 double crochet into each of those chains. Now we should end up with the same amount of stitches as this pant leg over here. Once we have that first single crochet/half double crochet row completed, I'll meet you guys back just so I can talk you guys through how we're going to get started on our following odd number row. So our first single crochet row/half double crochet row is complete. Now for this one, we did slip stitch into that chain space that we made since we weren't already connected. Then what we're going to do is chain 2, flip our work, so we will be working back into the chain, and we're going to repeat our cable stitch/alpine stitch detail. But for this one, we're going to start with our twists. So just to get that started, we're going to chain 2 and flip, and simply start with our dividing stitch. So yarn over twice, underneath that first half double with our dividing stitch, then continue on with our twists and alpines per usual. And I'll meet you back at the corner of our chain when we're about to do our last dividing stitch. So I've just done my twist, alpine twist all the way down until I'm at the corner of my chain. Now from here, we're going to do our dividing stitch, which is going to be shared with our other pant legs dividing stitch. Then we're going to continue on with the rest of our row. So we have just completed our twist. So we're going to do our last dividing stitch, which is a yarn over twice. It is going to be combined with a half double just to make sure that this doesn't have a big gap. But into that following dividing stitch that we have from our previous row, we're going to insert our hook underneath there as well. Pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2 until we have 2 loops left on our hook. Then yarn over into the stitch from our previous row. We're going to pull through, yarn over, pull through all 4. Now our dividing stitch is completed. Now we're going to continue on with our alpine stitch twist, making our way all the way around. Then once we have this row completed, we're going to continue to do our twist and alpine stitch rows with our single crochet rows in between for the same amount of rows that we have for this pant leg. Plus, we're going to continue to do our bottom band as well. Once we have this entire pant leg completed, I will meet y'all back. So we are back. We have just completed our bottom band for our second pant leg, and we are actually all done. I did do a chain up a 1 and cut. Now the last thing we're going to do is our drawstring. So all we're going to do is make a really long chain, and then we're going to weave it into the waistband. Now for those of you that have my numbers, I made a chain of 170, and now just to weave it in together, what we're going to do is first make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, meaning the seam that we have for the waistband is along the bottom. Then we're going to insert our hook into any one of the stitches that we have where we'd like for the drawstring to sit. So it could be high, middle, or low. I'd like for mine to be within the middle, and I'm going to start by finding the middle of our piece. So I'm just going to trace the divider where our pant legs are all the way up, and this is roughly where my middle is. So what I'm going to do is bring my hook back. I'm going to find a middle stitch and just bring that through into the same middle stitch all the way until I reach my middle, which is where my finger is. I'm going to insert my yarn onto my hook, and I'm going to pull through, but I'm not going to pull through all the way because we still need to leave a little bit of slack so that we can tie it once we're completed. And we're just going to continue doing that. We have just completed weaving in the entirety of our drawstring, and now we are all done. The last thing I have to do is just weave in all of our ends. And there you have it, y'all. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. Those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch y'all the next one. Bye.